Hey y'all, my name is Michael, and if it is your very first time here, welcome. The first thing I want to say is congratulations to all of you guys who have just got accepted into nursing school. This is definitely going to be a journey, but do not worry, you're going to get through it. Everything's going to be fine. So today I'm going to be talking about what you will most likely expect your very first day of orientation as an ABSN or BSN student. I personally did the ABSN track, so I can only speak from my own experience, but I'm pretty sure both the ABSN and BSN track are very, very similar when it comes to their orientation day. So I remember my first day of orientation, it was very crowded. I was very nervous because I didn't know anyone. I knew nothing about really the nursing profession because I was coming from a bio background and I was going to a completely new school. So I completely understand how you guys are feeling right now. But like I said, calm down, there is nothing to worry about. Okay, so I remember the day of orientation, I showed up and I was handed a folder with my name on it. The folder pretty much had an itinerary of what my day was gonna look like for orientation, and it also had a breakdown of the schedule throughout the whole entire program. I also remember being greeted by upperclassmen in the program who were like in their junior or senior year of nursing school, and they were just greeting you, handing you flyers and brochures, telling you that things were gonna be okay, and they were pretty much there to kind of just welcome you. Another thing I remember was having to take a picture that day because I think that picture that they used was the picture for the whole nursing class. So make sure that you come prepared that day to take a picture. Every program is different, but from what I remember, I think my program was either 2 days long or it was that whole week. I also remember that whole entire day, or those few days, I don't remember which one it was, but I remember that we went over the whole breakdown of the program, all the softwares that we were supposed to use, all of the important links and documents that we were going to have to keep up with. I also remember almost every teacher introducing themselves in the program and what classes they were teaching, along with what goals they had for all the students. Another thing that happened during orientation, which I felt was actually really, really helpful and it really calmed my nerves, was the fact that upperclassmen who were juniors and seniors, they got on a panel and they answered all of our questions that we had going into the program. They also shared their experiences in the program and some things that they wished they knew before starting their classes. So if you guys have a panel of upperclassmen your orientation day, please listen to them, because 9 times out of 10, those are the same things that you're probably going to have questions about. I think that the whole orientation was from like 8 o'clock in the morning to like 5 o'clock at night. Another thing that we did during orientation was that we split up into groups and we went into different classrooms and met with each professor that we would be having that first semester, and they would just talk about what class they were teaching, what the class was about, what we needed to have prepared the first day of classes. We pretty much went over the syllabi, but it was more so the professor introducing themselves, and also we had to do icebreakers where we went around the room and we had to introduce ourselves and what our background was, what we studied before, and also like the area of nursing that we were interested in. 2 other things that I do remember on orientation day was the fact that we did a tour of the labs and the classrooms that we'd be working in. We also had a lunch break where we were able to split up and get to know other people in our class. Now that's pretty much all I remember about the orientation period, but I'm gonna get into some tips about some things that I wish I would have known going into my first day and into the program. Okay, so one thing I will say is that going into your first day of orientation, you want to make sure that you're being open and that you're being social, because this is going to be your very first impression that you have towards people in your cohort and your professors. Even though you have the whole entire program to figure out who you click with, I would definitely make an effort this first day so that when you lead into the second day and when you lead into studying, that you have some people to refer to and you have some people that you can study with. Another thing that I would say is to dress appropriately. I remember that we were required to wear business casual, and so that first day you're making your very first impression to your professors, to the faculty of the school. So you want to make sure that you're dressed appropriately and that you look like you care about the program and that you mean business. The very first day of orientation, I wore a button up, some business pants, and some flats. So y'all, don't overdo it. You don't have to show up in a suit or a dress and some heels. It's not that serious. Just make sure that it's casual and professional. The next thing that I think is super smart is having those immunizations and all of your credentialing complete before you go to orientation, because the whole credentialing process is such a hassle, having to wait for immunizations and having to wait for providers to get back to you about your results is so much. So just make sure that you're doing that ahead of time, and also so that you can start clinicals on time. Because if you don't have your immunizations and your credentialing complete, then you will not be able to start clinicals. For orientation, I would also say that you should bring a notepad and a pen or a folder so that you can keep up with additional stuff that you might need to write down during the breakdown of the semester. Also, just in case you want to take notes, I mean, you can use your phone for that too, but it's all up to you. Some people like to write, some people would rather have it in their phone, but just make sure that you have something on you that you can take notes with. Another thing that I will say is smart, that if a professor doesn't introduce themselves to you, you should go out of your way to introduce yourselves to them. Because off of that first and initial conversation, you're able to build a first impression, and by the time that first class starts, they'll already know your first name and they'll already know who you are. I think that keeping contact with your professors that first day and throughout the program is so important, because those times where you're gonna need advice or help on a subject, or even a referral or recommendation, they would have already gotten to know you and know that you're serious about the profession. I don't know how many times I've struggled throughout nursing school and I was able to get a fast response, and I was able to actually book an appointment and get help from that professor because I'd already had a previous conversation with them. And it also helped me so much when it came time for me to look for a job and I needed letters of recommendation. Another thing that I would recommend is getting on your ATI early. Start studying early. Make sure that you're studying every week for ATI. I wish I would have started ATI earlier, because I probably wouldn't have had to retake a lot of my exams. Now, that very first week of classes, I would ask around and see if there is a group me for the class. And if there isn't, create one, because that is one thing that helped me throughout the whole nursing program. It was the fact that I was able to get updates from classmates about certain assignments that were due, things that we should expect for clinicals, questions about the stuff that was being presented in class. And also, it was an amazing way to vent, y'all. Like, when I tell you guys, these people are the only people that are gonna actually know what you're going through. You're gonna find times where you feel like your family, your significant other, your best friends are just not gonna understand. And the people in your cohort are really gonna be the only ones that you feel that you can relate to. Another thing I would recommend is having at least 2 pairs of scrubs, y'all, because you might have clinicals back to back, and there might be times where you have to get up and go and you just don't have time to do laundry. So I would definitely buy at least 2 pairs of scrubs. I would also buy a planner to make sure that you're keeping yourself accountable with your deadlines, your assignments, because there's been many times where I thought that I was gonna remember everything for the day, and I've glanced back at my planner and calendar and I realized, wow, if I didn't have that planner, then I probably would have missed so many assignments. Another thing that I would say is to meet in study groups early and start doing that weeks before the exam, because there's gonna be times where you feel like you're just not understanding the material, and just having those other classmates study with you is so beneficial, because they might understand certain things that you don't, and vice versa. And also, let's be real, people get real cliquey, so I would say that it's really smart to establish that relationship early. The very last thing I would say is to just be super open-minded to all of the practices of nursing, because there are so many stereotypes with each field of nursing. But just go in with your own experience, and don't listen to other people's experiences when it comes to what unit they like the most and why they liked it, because not everybody's experience is the same. There have been many times people have tied stigmas to certain fields, and I went in nervous and with judgment of certain units because of what I was told. But those same units ended up being the units that I liked the most throughout my whole entire program. So just go in with your own experience and be super open-minded. Now that is it for this video. I hope it was super helpful. Feel free to leave any comments in the comment section. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Turn on that notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.